Hello and welcome. I am Thomas Porteous and you are watching The World Report. Let's take a look at some of the top headlines this hour. In a 90-minute conversation with Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin agrees to initiate peace talks to end the war in Ukraine. Ukrainian President Zelensky says he also spoke with Trump about a lasting, reliable peace. Trump calls with both sides come as he says Ukraine is unlikely to join NATO. Ukraine's head of anti-terrorism is arrested for spying for Russia. Authorities say a high-ranking Ukrainian colonel was passing secrets to Moscow. Israel calls up military reservists as it prepares to resume its offensive in Gaza. The move comes amid concerns that Hamas will miss a deadline to release more hostages. The European Union plans to hit back at the US steel and aluminium tariffs. Brussels targets nearly $5 billion worth of US imports, with duties as high as 50%. As the latest sign of strained tensions between the two Koreas, the North is dismantling a facility at its Mount Kumgang resort. The venue was used for hosting meetings between families separated after the Korean War. The Unification Ministry, which handles affairs between the nations, condemned the action and urged Pyongyang to halt the demolition immediately. The ministry also has said to consider legal measures over the action. The 12-story building, built in 2008, is located just beyond the Demilitarized Zone separating the two countries. The last tearful meeting between separated families was held at the venue in August 2018 before North Korea threatened to dismantle the resort the following year. More than 130,000 South Koreans had already registered to reunite with their separated families in the north as of December last year. Similar to this, North Korea has been escalating its rhetoric against its southern neighbor in recent years, designating South Korea as a hostile state. Joining us for further discussion on this topic is Dr. Satoru Nagao, Fellow at Hudson Institute in Tokyo, Japan, and Andrew K.P. Lung, International Affairs Expert, joining us from Hong Kong. Thank you for joining us, both of you. Dr. Nagao, what does the dismantling of this building say about North and South Korean relations?
This is the latest example of the destruction of the South Korea's facility located between South Korea and North Korea. Indeed, since 2019, North Korea has already dismantled hotel, golf course, or restaurant, pension town, the port facility, or spa, all of these ones. So now this building is start to dismantle, but indeed this is a long-term process to separate from the North Korea, between the North Korea and South Korea. The North Korea wish to separate with the South Korea, because idea of the Kim Jong-un, what is the problem? If the South Korea show they are developed country, good facilities they can build, in this case, people in the North Korea start to believe their leader are stupid and South Korea's leader is better. So that is a threat for the legitimacy of the North Korean government, Kim Jong-un believes. That's why separate from the South Korea is a policy. They are completely different, not same ethnic. South Korea is South Korea, North Korea is North Korea, completely separated, completely different. That is very important. He wants to emphasize to the North Korean people. That's why they want to dismantle all of the facility North Korean people can see. Also, all of the facility, latest facility, but South Korea's facility, that is a threat for them, they believe. Thank you.
Andrew K.P. Lung, what are your thoughts on this? This building obviously was for families reuniting with old relatives over the border. How does this decision fit into Kim Jong-un's broader policy towards South Korea?
Well, say that a couple of years or maybe 5 or 6 years ago, the idea of somehow a future reunified Korea resonated both inside South Korea and North Korea. So there was a pretense that somehow these facilities of family reunion should be kept, and the two sides should talk to each other. But after the so-called six-party talks led by the United States and other countries, including China for that matter, on dismantling North Korea's nuclear facilities, which has come to nothing, in spite of the Trump first term's rhetoric or theatrics of coming across to South Korea to shake hands with Kim. But at the end of the day, nothing much came to it because the United States always insisted that North Korea would give up its nuclear facility, which North Korea regards as its insurance, its security insurance policy, give up everything first before the United States would ease the sanctions. And of course, that would North Korea would not buy this. And now, after all these years, Kim is totally disappointed and disillusioned, and that's why he's developing his nuclear missiles, silent submarines, and even intercontinental ballistic missiles, which are capable of delivering nuclear warheads as an insurance policy. And then he's given up on the so-called six-party talk. And likewise in South Korea, the current president, who is now in deep water, subject to impeachment and also arrest for misfeasance. During his term, he also is siding with the United States and trying to sever all ties with South Korea. Now his challenger is recalibrated the relationship. But even though his challenger wants to have a warmer relationship with North Korea, Kim would have nothing of that kind because he is now totally disillusioned, and he is convinced that his regime's survival depends on the solid nuclear insurance policy. And he's taking a leaf from the former Chairman Mao's book. Because if you remember, when China was stood up as a nation under Chairman Mao, China was extremely weak and was threatened with nuclear attacks from its former partner and later broken up, the USSR. And so Chairman Mao was faced with a decision of either devoting resources to developing the bomb, or improving the economy and the livelihood of his people. And he decided, first of all, national security is the most important issue. So he decided on the bomb. And Kim is taking a leaf from the former Chairman Mao's book. And hence that's what's happening is dismantling every kind of assembly of a possible reunification.
Yeah, Dr. Nagao, does this move indicate that North Korea is completely abandoning the possibility of future reconciliation with South Korea? What kind of moves can we see the future bringing in regard to this?
North Korea's way of thinking rely on the military power because their society is dominated by military. So military way of thinking, strength is very important. Power is important. But when we compare the conventional military power, South Korea is stronger than North Korea. So North Korea do not feel the possibility to win the war against South Korea. And so they cannot unite. They cannot unite South Korea as a part of North Korea. So that's why currently their strategy is how to survive the threat from South Korea. So so in this case, firstly, of course, they try to protect militarily, which is a nuclear weapon or ally with China or Russia. But another one is ideology. So South Korea developed very well. That image will affect the people in North Korea, and regime change will happen. That is their threat. So that's why they want to say, we are independent. South Korea is different, completely different. That kind of mood is better than the same as South Korea can do means that North Korea can do, but because leaders were wrong, so that's why the North Korea situation is like that. But that kind of mood is not good for the North Korea government.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you, Dr. Nagao and Andrew KP Lung, for joining us. Unfortunately, we have run out of time for this segment. We will continue to move to more news updates. Tensions are soaring as Israel readies its forces. Hamas halts hostage releases and Trump issues a dire ultimatum. Is the fragile Gaza ceasefire about to unravel? Let's dive into the latest developments.
A volatile standoff threatens to unravel the fragile ceasefire in Gaza as tensions mount over Hamas' delayed hostage release. Israel has begun mobilizing reservists, warning of a renewed offensive if Hamas fails to free hostages by the looming deadline. Efforts to salvage the truce intensify, with Hamas officials engaging in urgent mediation talks in Cairo.
הדאגה שאם המלחמה תתחדש, קודם כל זה יעכב את שחרור החטופים. הם יחזרו במצב הרבה יותר גרוע ממה שהם נמצאים היום, שכבר עכשיו הם במצב די שפל וגרוע. ממש התוודענו לזה בשבת האחרונה, וזה החשש העיקרי.
On the ground, Gazans brace for the worst, with the battered enclave teetering on the brink of another humanitarian catastrophe. Meanwhile, outrage spreads over President Trump's proposal to displace Palestinians and rebuild Gaza as an international resort.
لا نسمع ايش بقول. احنا اللي بنسمعه واللي بنعرفه هذه ارض فلسطينيه عربيه بنكاتل علشانها مدى الحياه حتى قيام الساعه.
In a glimmer of hope, reports suggest a potential breakthrough in talks, with Israel allowing crucial aid to enter Gaza ahead of the Saturday deadline. As the clock ticks down, all eyes remain on the delicate negotiations. Will the truce hold, or is Gaza on the brink of a new war? Bureau Report, NewsX.
Now let's take a look at some updates coming in from across the Indo-Pacific. 5 people have died after an explosion in a Taiwan department store. The blast, which happened in a flood court in the city Taichung, has also left several injured. Parts of the exterior of the building have been damaged with scattered fragments on the streets below. Early signs show that it was a gas explosion on the 12th floor of the shopping mall. The Taichung mayor says that vibrations from the blast were felt in the government building. The Islamic State has claimed responsibility for a suicide bombing in northern Afghanistan. An explosion at a bank in the city of Kunduz killed 8 people. The IS propaganda wing says that the suicide bomber detonated his explosive vest. Then Taliban militia members gathered outside the bank to collect their salaries. South Korea's ousted President Yoon Suk-yeol has been back in court for his impeachment hearing. Judges will soon decide whether to formally remove him from office over his short-lived martial law decree. The ousted leader has attended what could be his final hearing. Yoon has remained defiant throughout weeks of hearings, blaming malicious opposition for his martial law bid. Australia has criticised Beijing for their unsafe military conduct. They allege a Chinese fighter jet of dropping flares near an Australian Air Force plane. The Australian aircraft was flying a routine surveillance patrol over the South China Sea when the Chinese Shenyang J-16 strike jet released flares nearby. Cook Islands Prime Minister Mark Brown says he has held discussions with Chinese institutions. Topics disclosed include marine science, climate resilience, and economic cooperation. During his visit, Brown is also expected to sign a comprehensive strategic partnership with China. Meanwhile, the Cook Islands opposition has fled a no-confidence vote against PM Brown. Two British nationals have been placed in custody by Iranian authorities due to unspecified security offences. Iranian officials say both unnamed Brits are being held in central Kerman province. There has been no specific reason given as to why they have been apprehended. Several other European prisoners have been involved in prisoner exchanges with Western governments in recent years. Elon Musk made a surprise appearance at the White House, denying claims of a hostile takeover of the US government. Standing beside President Trump, he defended his cost-cutting measures as Trump signed an order giving Musk's agency more power to slash federal spending. Let's take a look at the report.
Joined by Elon Musk in the Oval Office, President Donald Trump signed an executive order Tuesday that seeks to significantly reduce the size of the government by instructing heads of federal departments and agencies to undertake plans for large-scale reductions in force. Trump's newest order directs the federal government to implement a workforce optimization initiative created by Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, which has been moving rapidly from one department to another to slash spending and gut programs. Musk, wearing a black MAGA hat and joined by his son X, stood next to Trump, who was seated behind the Resolute desk.
What I really want to say is, it's not optional for us to reduce the federal expenses. It's essential. It's essential for America to remain solvent as a country, and it's essential for America to have the resources necessary to provide things to its citizens and not simply be servicing vast amounts of debt.
Musk called the federal bureaucracy an unelected fourth, unconstitutional branch of government that must be held accountable.
Well, we have this unelected fourth unconstitutional branch of government, which is the bureaucracy, which has, in a lot of ways, currently more power than any elected representative. And this is not something that people want.
Bureau Report, NewsX.
We will now take a look at some news updates from the world of business. Japanese auto giants Honda and Nissan have scrapped their multi-billion-dollar merger talks. The deal, which was announced in December, would have led to the formation of the world's third-largest automaker. It is not clear why the merger talks collapsed, though the two companies will continue working together on electrical vehicles. US inflation unexpectedly accelerated last month to 3%. The cost of groceries, gas and cars were among to rise. This added pressure on the Federal Reserve to delay any further interest cuts. Directly following the CPI report, the Dow dropped by more than 150 points. Germany's Commerzbank is planning to cut around 3,900 jobs, around 10% of its workforce. Germany's second biggest bank is looking to make efficiency gains amid advances from Italian bank UniCredit. In December 2024, UniCredit increased their stake in Commerzbank, with the move being called an unfriendly approach. The job cuts are expected to take place by 2028. Several Chinese businesses are rushing to integrate the DeepSeek AI model into their operations. Among the companies are car makers, financial security companies, and telecom operators. The move has been unprecedented by AI analysts, with DeepSeek's open source availability in China a big factor. South Korea's market watchdog has imposed fines on 4 banks over short-selling breaches. JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Nomura and UBS have been accused of breaking rules in the domestic Korean stock market. An official at the country's financial supervisory service said that fines would be imposed. The UK economy grew unexpectedly in the fourth quarter of 2024. This has provided some relief for the under-fire Labour government, led by Sir Keir Starmer. GDP in the European country expanded by 0.1% between October and December. up from zero growth in the third quarter of last year. And this is all we have time for. We will continue to bring you more updates from across the world.